we've gotten to a point where we talk so much and so much speculation and theorizing about films that we've never seen. I just wish people would give more films a chance before they create a narrative about it.
Many years ago, a Karan Johar movie came out that I really did not understand. It was straying away from his bubblegum, surface level romantic comedies and presented a mature story of hollow marriages and infidelity that along the way led to many personal lives crumbling. This movie was called Kabhi, Alvida, Gehraiyaan. I was too young to understand what the movie was trying to convey, but upon re-watching that film, it definitely stands out as one of Karan Johar's best films after My Name is Khan. The film was heavily criticized on the pretext that it justifies extramarital affairs. Just the concept in itself was, and I believe is still, something that Indians simply don't want to talk about or acknowledge. The film's intention was actually quite the contrary. It presented the characters of Dev and Maya in marriages where they have fallen out of love with their partners and cross paths with one another. Their emotional and physical intimacy develops into love, and this act leads to their respective marriages crumbling. The act itself was never glorified as the right thing to do, but something that the characters chose to do outside of their monogamous relationships, leading to the lives of people related to them changing forever and not for the better. Why I think the film speaks to audiences even today is the maturity in its writing, as when the partners played by Preeti Zinta and Abhishek Bachchan get to know about the affair, they can't stand the sight of wanting to give them a second chance. The result of such an act is catastrophic, and never in the slightest were the other characters applauding Dev and Maya for their actions. As time heals all wounds, the writing presents the partners to have found new love somewhere else. Again conveying that despite the horrific experience, people still have the ability to love and start again. Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna can be criticized on other fronts, but never did it justify or glorify cheating. It presented characters in loveless marriages and how cheating outside of that union leads to intense ramifications. As the trailer and marketing of Gehraiyaan is taking place all over the internet and mainstream media, it was being termed as the millennial Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna. Before I dive into the trailer, I wanted to talk about how much is too much visibility. You know, ever since the title announcement of Gehraiyaan came out, it's been more than a month of non-stop promotions for the film. I wonder whether at some point audiences get exhausted of the appearances and the constant plugging that takes place regarding the movie, dissipating the hype that otherwise would already exist for a film with such stars releasing on such a big platform like Amazon Prime Video. Also, most of the interviews are anecdotal rather than really taking a deep dive in the process of the film and its characters, not to forget a lot of complimenting one another that just at one point of time gets exhausting. The cinematography of the film stood out for me in the trailer especially. Beyond the story, the use of the color blue that often denotes detachment from one's common occurrences in his or her daily life, this sense of isolation and longing for normalcy is clearly denoted by the color scheme and visual grammar of the film. Of life and circumstances that come across as bright and hopeful initially, but they often transform into an atmosphere full of dread and regret. The take on modern day relationships presented by Shakun Batra fascinates me as it immediately generates a response from the audience both for and against what it stands for, or at least right now, the assumption of what it stands for. I will still say that the trailer gave away far too much, probably giving away what will happen till the third act of the movie, and sadly this leads to the beats of the film being pretty predictable, quite the deterrent for a drama, especially dealing with developments in and out of the relationship. I can surely back two things though regarding the film's trailer. That one, Siddhant Chaturvedi and Deepika Padukone share some raw and hot chemistry with one another in front of camera that is as visceral as Deepika and Ranveer and Ram Leela, and two, the music of the film is absolutely melodious. The two tracks for me, Dubey and the title track of the film, have been on loop for quite some time. The history of infidelity in Bollywood films has been quite the hilarious one, as years have gone by with films like Masti, BV Number 1, No Entry and Shadi Number 1, commercial movies sold to the masses where men cheat on their wives, and the circumstances are showcased with a comedic lens. In these films, women are showcased as understanding of men's philandering ways and eventually forgive them, sometimes even because the husbands threaten suicide otherwise. But when the same acts are committed by the women outside of the marriage, like Astitva or Hamari Adhuri Kahani, it is presented in the form of drama, where the woman has to repent for her sins and she is ridiculed and shunned. Making me also think that it's quite the double standard, right? No Entry या Thank You जैसी फिल्म चीटिंग ग्लोरीफाई करे तो बोलो अरे यार कॉमेडी है यार, इतना सीरियसली क्यों ले रहा है? कभी अलविदा ना कहना करे तो सोसाइटी को गलत मैसेज दे रहे हो तुम. Why I presented the case of Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna initially, and I'm talking about the Gehraiyaan trailer, is that a lot of the responses online intrigued me of the current landscape of what we assume the film is about and how it inadvertently affects a film that was set out to do something completely different. Some of the reactions to the trailer of Gehraiyaan range from Amir logo ke tante or paise walo ke problems, and the one that was especially prevalent, saying, "Why are you glorifying cheating?" These were the assessments and assumptions made by some people from the trailer of the film, which reminded me of the three recent examples of what the current active discussion of films on social media has led to. You remember the heartbreaking web series Gehraiyaan on Disney Plus Hotstar, and how people wanted to boycott it from watching the trailer, as people assumed that it showcases a Sikh partaking in the riots against his own community, and how crazy it is that after watching the series, it turned out to be exactly the opposite. You remember when Bansali was slapped around for the assumption that he is showcasing the Rajput community in bad light in Padmavat, and it was nothing but a celebration of the pride and history of the Rajputs? Chris Tuckman referred to the experience of a movie like The Last Duel, a screenplay written by Matt Damon and Ben Affleck after Good Will Hunting, that tanked, and how the discussion around the film, even before it came out, set a narrative of the idea of what the film would be about. News articles criticized the two actors and presented their script as white privileged men suffering for a woman being raped as the basic premise of the storyline, which was false advertising in its entirety. You watch the film and understand that all the criticism was predicated on the idea of what the film may be about, but in hindsight, it presented a nuanced and brilliant practical period action film that was socially relevant and responsible. Stuckman rightly saying,
We've gotten to a point where we talk so much and so much speculation and theorizing about films that we've never seen. I just wish people would give more films a chance before they create a narrative about it.
if Gehraiyaan through its storyline turns out to glorify and justify infidelity, then it deserves the criticism that will come its way. Even though I highly doubt Shakun Batra and the vision that he has for his films and characters would ever resort to something so reductive and irresponsible. Without watching it, however, labeling its intention would be basing your argument on simply an assumption of what you think the film is about, not what it actually is. And that was a video, guys. Write down in the comments below what you think about the discussion around the Gehraiyaan trailer and what you just genuinely think about the movie glimpses that you have seen. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handle is right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.